I got to be a sub in a round with Victoria, my producer, who's written, Garth hits and John Michael Montgomery, Eric Church, that stuff. That was just really cool for me. One, from just a confidence building standpoint, being like, okay, I can at least do this on this stage. But it was more just like listening to how they talk to the crowd and how it they create more of a, we're all just kind of chilling in this room together, as opposed to I'm the artist, this is the audience. You make jokes, you kind of take a more laid back approach, you're real with them, you tell them, the real authentic story behind the song you're playing, or you maybe point out some tables and talk to them. Like, that has kind of, I guess, fed into my social media thing of just like showing everybody my authentic self. Because authenticity in music, 99% of the time that wins, and that's the way to go, because people can tell when you're not being real.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Nick Carrier's Best You podcast. I am super fired up to have the one and only Cooper Allen with me today. Cooper, I just want to start off by saying thanks so much for spending the time with me today.
Dude, it's a freaking pleasure, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. I went to your show, like I said, a few weeks ago at Wild Horse Saloon, and I think that's the first time that I've seen you live, and I was super impressed by the way that you interacted with the audience, and that's what everybody who I was with kind of acknowledged and talked about. So super impressed. I just want to say that right off the bat.
Well, thank you, man. I like the compliments right off the get-go. Gas me up a little bit.
Of course. Well, Cooper, you're 25 years old, and you're a singer-songwriter here in Nashville, and you started to you just talked about how you just actually had a FaceTime with Colt Ford, which is super cool. So you definitely started to gain some traction here pretty early on in your career, especially on social media. You started to gain a lot of traction. What has been the biggest pro and the biggest con with maybe gaining a lot of traction on social media here kind of early on in your career?
The biggest pro is honestly everything. I mean, it's like this whole TikTok thing in the past year has created a platform where, as an independent artist, I can, without having to spend, tens of thousands of dollars in marketing campaigns or have a bunch of connections or any of that stuff, I can organically reach fans, and if they like it, they go and follow. And not only do they follow there, they go and buy your music, stream your music. We'll kind of see in the next year if they buy tickets and all that stuff. So, I mean, the biggest pro is I've been able to have real fans, which, before this, you had Instagram, Facebook, but, it was still really driven a lot by radio and editorial playlists, on the platforms and all that stuff. But now it's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, which has been awesome for me. And I'm lucky that's where I've kind of put my time in the past year. A con, I guess, I'm addicted to social media. Yeah. And I freaking live on my phone. And now work is all on my phone. So it's like, when do you turn it off? Some days are like, I just know my girlfriend is looking at me like, what is going on? Like, you're addicted to your phone. And I'm like, it's work, I promise. But like, you got to learn to put it down at some point. So that whole thing has been kind of difficult to toe the line there, but slowly you figure it out.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think, everybody has that struggle with looking at their phone. Obviously, yours is a little bit different. How are you working on it? Like, how are you strategically trying to organize your time specifically to be on there for work versus not be on there for work?
Yeah, so usually when I'm on there, it is for work. I rarely scroll through social media just for looking at what people are doing or what most people look at it for. I'm usually on there trying to either come up with ideas for something or post something or work on content. But I've kind of, and it's easier said than done, but I try to tell myself now, I pick like a cutoff time at the beginning of the day. I'll say, I'll look at my schedule, what I got to do for the day. And I'll say, try to just really cut it off by like 7 or something. After you post your stuff, just get off of it. And I've, some days I can hold myself to that. Some days not so much. But I definitely try to not really look at it when I'm in the writing room doing that, because it just kind of takes away from that creative space. Definitely don't look at it while I work out, which is my nice escape. But yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Daily thing, you always kind of trying to find that balance. But one of the things that, I feel like gave you some traction on social media is doing your mashups.
Yeah.
And that's something that's, I feel like, super cool and super unique. And you kind of found something that's like, okay, this is different. This is something that a lot of people don't do. So how did you come up with that mashup idea?
Yeah, it was something that I'd always done. I played a lot in high school and college doing these bar gigs that were 3 or 4 hours, for a bunch of college kids or a bunch of, whatever. And when you're playing a 3 or 4 hour set, that's a crap ton of songs. So it's like, how am I going to kill 30 minutes or whatever? And so we would just bang out those chords of All Star. It's like the same 4 chords, and so many songs use them. And we would just like kind of riff off, like me and my bass player, guitar player, and see how many songs we could do for X amount of time. And people always loved them live.
Yeah.
I don't know why it took me so long to figure out that could be something that could work on TikTok.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that first one. I was like, well, let's just play that All Star beat and let's do what I've always done and see if people dig it. And that was the first video I had that like really, really popped off. So I was like, people like this, and this is fun. It's something I enjoy. And
yeah, and so for those people listening who are not sure what I'm talking about, just tell them real quick kind of what the mashup is.
Yeah, so a mashup is like, you play a song and sing as many songs as you can over that beat. Or you can mash up 2 songs, 4 songs, 6 songs, whatever, just kind of what works together. So for me on TikTok, I'll play like a minute's worth of a beat of a song or something and try to usually fit like, 6 to 8 songs in there that kind of flow. And I don't know, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not good, but they're always fun.
When you go into them, is it always, do you have an idea of the 6, 7, 8 songs that you're going to do, or do you just kind of go off the top of your head, or how does that work?
Usually it's play the beat and let's just kind of see what comes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you've done it so much that things just kind of pop in your head.
Yeah. And I just, for some reason, and it was such a useless skill before like TikTok, like I can recall a lot of songs and I can think of a lot of different like genres worth of songs or whatever. So they just kind of like come to me and I'll do a country song. I'm like, I don't want to do another country song. Let's go to like a Eminem song or something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works, sometimes,
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I feel like is super cool about them because it keeps you on your toes. You're like, I have no idea what's coming next. I think I saw one the other day where you had like Bring 'Em Out, and then, you have all different kind of genres, like you said, which is super cool. So let's kind of go back a little bit into your decision to kind of go full-time with country music. You went to UNC Chapel Hill and you were playing a lot of music there. Was it then, or was it in high school, or when was the time where you're like, I know this is something that I'm actually going to pursue full-time?
Yeah. I guess I had always known I really liked doing it. I'd always taken it really seriously and had always made it, a big priority in my life, more than sports, more than anything, was music, starting, in high school. I still wanted to go to college. I wanted that experience. I wanted the friends. I wanted to go to the football games, basketball games, all that stuff. Have Carolina break my heart a million times, which, we got a championship, so it's okay. But, I wanted that experience, and musically I wasn't ready to move to Nashville after high school. Some people are. I needed time to really work on my performance craft and get better at entertaining and all that stuff. So I guess like the definitive moment, I was doing one last internship up in New York, summer after junior year of college.
What's the internship?
Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
Yeah. I was not good at it.
What were you doing?
Nothing. Writing songs at my desk.
That's a lot of internships, I think.
Yeah. Great people, but it was not for me. And I think it was like the first day I sat down at my desk and started doing stuff. I was like, I really just want to like write songs right now. So at that moment I was like, well, obviously we'll do what we said we were going to do. We'll finish out this summer, but I'm 100% moving to Nashville and doing the thing after I graduate.
What do you think gave you the confidence that you had the ability to do it? Like, you played music in high school, you played music in college, and I have no idea what kind of fan base, you started to accrue in college, if you will, but how did you know that this was something that you actually had an ability to do and you actually had the skill required to, actually grow and make it big?
Totally. Kind of two things. I mean, there is like artists and stuff, and like somebody like you who's an entrepreneur who does something kind of different outside of the box. You get it. It's kind of inside us that like we have to do that. Yeah. There's no plan B. There's nothing else that really makes us as happy as that. So you have to go chase it. So that was probably the biggest part of it. In terms of, we would play in these bars and there would be lines out the door and stuff. And granted, we were playing a lot of covers and stuff, but like people were actually excited to come out and see us play. And, I got better at learning how to interact with the crowd kind of as my college years went on. And it was just kind of a feeling. And I had a lot of really, really awesome friends and family that supported me through the whole thing, even when I sucked, to, give me the confidence to keep doing it and get better. But yeah, it got to the point where by senior year, it was, I think, I still got to work on this writing stuff a bunch. I still got to, keep developing and keep working on it. But it feels like just how these shows feel, it feels like this is something that could be a thing.
Yeah. No doubt. I definitely relate. Like you said, it's just one of those things within you that you kind of know that you have to do. Because I moved to Nashville and immediately had a job as a recruiter with a recruiting agency, and I was doing it for 2 weeks, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I was like, I need to go do this other thing, and so I did that. To kind of make a little transition, I think I'm always fascinated by the people that I interview, because a lot of people that I interview are entrepreneurs or do, like you said, do a little bit of something different, are musicians, whatever, are athletes. And I think everybody has and finds their creativity in a little bit of a different way. And so obviously you have to do songwriting, you come up with the mashups and stuff like that. So talking kind of songwriting in particular, you write some songs about parents, you have, a new one on your parents. How do you kind of enter a songwriting session or prepare for a songwriting session?
Yeah. The cool thing about songwriting is it keeps you constantly entertained, because every single write is different. Every session is different. Every dynamic between writers is different. Generally you want to come in the room with some sort of idea or feel, or maybe you started a couple lines of something or haven't, whatever. You want to come in with something to at least kind of bring to the table to throw out in the room. And usually when you get in the room, it's with, 2 to 3 other people, and you all kind of talk a little bit, you shoot shit for a little bit and hang out, and then all kind of throw out ideas and what we're feeling and stuff. And, usually I'm the artist in the room, so a lot of times we'll be writing for me. And so you kind of got to tell them the direction that you want to go in, what kind of song you're missing, all that stuff. And then you kind of land on something that feels the best, that you think would have the most potential. And, a lot of the times it's not my idea. It's something that somebody else says, and you kind of piggyback off of that. You never really want to go in with, I have to write this song today.
Right.
Or
you never want to put yourself in a box.
Exactly. Because kind of the beauty of it and the best moments are when you kind of take it in a direction that just is right for the room.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, and it's crazy that every session is different, but you always come out of there with a song. You come out of there with something, and a lot of times it really sucks, but sometimes it's really good.
Yeah, so. I'm sure that the volume with which you have songwriting sessions is just bound that some are going to be good, some are going to be bad.
Yeah.
Is there a time that you feel like most creative? Like if you're going to a songwriting session and like I want my juices flowing, it's like I need to make sure I get a good night's sleep the night before. I need to make sure I have some quiet time before. I need to make sure I have a cup of coffee before. Is there anything in particular that you feel like you need to do in order to step into your creative genius, if you will?
Yeah. I write best in the morning, usually in like the 10 to 11 range. I really don't like writing at night. I'll do it sometimes, but I'm just drained by then. 90% of the time I have to work out before I write, just to get a sweat and get that out of the way. I always have coffee, or I usually have coffee when I write. Funny enough, kind of sometimes the best writing sessions I've had is when I've been hungover, just because I'm not thinking about it. I'm not hungover every day. I don't do that a lot, but just kind of anything to like, whether it's a workout or whether it's just your mind kind of not being so, I have to write a really good song today.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, then you put the pressure on it, and I'm really bad at that. So I usually try to do things before that take my mind off it, whether it's working on other music stuff, on social media stuff, whatever, just not trying to like stress out about it writing too much.
Yeah. Well, kind of along the same lines then in regards to preparation. So like I talked about beforehand, I was super impressed with your performance and kind of the confidence that you had on stage and the ability you had to interact with the audience. Is there anything that you do in particular in order to get your mindset in the right place to prepare for those performances so that you feel confident that you're going to be able to perform at the utmost?
Yeah. A lot of people have like their pre-show rituals and stuff. I warm up my voice and whatnot, but for me, it's every time I step out onto a stage, no matter how small or how big or whether it's a cover gig or original gig, like there's just something that gets my juices flowing naturally by stepping onto the stage. And I've always been lucky to work with really, really good, talented musicians that are prepared. And so, I know they're prepared. I know they're going to deliver, so I can focus on me performing. There's really not like a ton of stress before a show or anything. You just kind of get up there and rock it, man.
Yeah. Has there ever been a performance where you feel like you learned the most from, whether it was like a bad performance, a good performance, or just any performance in general that you felt like you learned the most from? That was like, oh my gosh, like I need to make sure I do that or I don't do that.
Yeah. God, we've had some bad performances. That is for sure. Especially in those college days, man. Everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
And we had a bass player go to the hospital, and we could go on and on about this. But probably the one I learned the most from, it was the Tin Pan Songwriters Festival 2 years ago. And I got to be a sub in a round with Victoria, my producer, who's written, Garth hits and John Michael Montgomery, Eric Church, that stuff. Jeff Steele, who, is an all-time legend. If you look him up, just so many hits. And Desmond Child, who wrote Living on a Prayer, Dude Looks Like a Lady, all these legendary songs. Wow. And I'm up there. I don't even think I had released a song yet. And I'm up there in this round. And that was just really cool for me. One, from just a confidence building standpoint, being like, okay, I can at least do this on this stage. But it was more just like listening to how they talk to the crowd and how they create more of a, we're all just kind of chilling in this room together, as opposed to I'm the artist, this is the audience. It's more of like, I don't know. So you were actually like the singer-songwriter round, you were one of the singer-songwriters with them? Yes. Okay, yeah, it was freaking terrifying. Oh, I'm sure. Actually, before I asked how it came about, so if one of the things that they taught you was try to make it less that you're doing a performance and make it more that you're hanging out with them in a room, what are the different things that you can do in order to create that kind of environment for those watching? You make jokes, you kind of take a more laid back approach. You're real with them. You tell them, the real authentic story behind the song you're playing, or maybe point out some tables and talk to them. I like doing that a lot. And like cover gigs, like I take requests a lot and I single people out and I talk to them like, hey, where are you from? What do you do? And it's like creates a little moment, and it creates a moment for everybody else that like, oh, this dude's here to hang out. And I think that has kind of, I guess, fed into my social media thing of just like showing everybody my authentic self. Yeah. Because authenticity in music, 99% of the time that wins, and that's the way to go, because people can tell when you're not being real. Yeah. No, I think that is super key in whatever it is that you're doing performance-wise. Like I know that, like I was telling you, I was teaching fitness classes earlier today, and there was like a specific moment kind of towards the end of class, probably 10 minutes to go, and I could tell everybody was just like wiped. They were just super exhausted, and I like changed my voice to just being like chill, not like yelling or anything like that, and I like made like a small like stupid joke, and everybody like smiled and everything like that. And then I also last week went to David Spade's stand-up comedy at Zany's, which was awesome. And they would do the same thing. They would call out somebody in the crowd, make fun of them, and then there was like a siren that went off outside, and he made a joke about that. I do really believe that there is something to that, and whatever it is that you're performing, you want to make everybody else feel comfortable, that you're just hanging out with them and that you're on the same level as them, if you will. Yeah, exactly. Because, at the end of the day, you are. Yeah. You're a person. Just because you're up on the stage doesn't make you any more special or anything. Yeah. And people want somebody they can approach, and that's, everything you said. Yeah, 100%. I think it's probably like they like to see a little bit of themselves in you almost. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you were on stage with them, how did that come about? So Victoria Shaw is my publisher and producer, and has been since I got to town. So I forget who the other act was supposed to be, but they canceled day of. I think they had gotten like stuck in Scotland or something crazy like that. And she just called and she's like, I know this is crazy, but do you think you can do this? And I was like, I mean, no, I don't really think I can do it, but I'll do it. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, she probably, she knew I was available and not busy that night. But yeah, that was cool. A really, really cool experience, and cool of her to kind of throw me in the fire like that. And that's kind of been her philosophy with me, and it's really worked.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I completely am a firm believer in that being thrown into the fire like that allows you to just learn at such a quick level.
Yeah.
It just allows you to learn so much faster than you would if you were the one who just had the choice to jump into that, because you would hold yourself back. You wouldn't maybe do something like that until another couple of years down the road, but because somebody is almost, quote, forcing you, and obviously you had the end say whether or not you stepped on there. But when you're thrown into the fire, you have the ability to learn at such a quicker pace
Absolutely.
than anything else.
Well, it's like fitness. It's like being an athlete. You do not get better unless you push yourself out of a comfort zone. And so, really in any profession, you got to do it every single day, every single opportunity you can, or, you don't want to stagnate. That's the only way to grow.
Yeah. And I follow a guy named Ed Milet, and one of the things that he says is you kind of rise or fall to the temperature of the people around you. And so if those people who have been in the game for such a long time and they maybe live at a higher temperature than you in this space, if you're going to be around them, then you're going to learn things, or you're going to perform at a level that's kind of gets closer and closer to them. And same thing with people who are worse than you. And with fitness, it's like, find a workout partner who is a little bit better than you.
Yeah. Find
Find a workout partner who maybe can lift a little bit more or can push themselves a little bit harder, because you're going to only improve and gradually get closer and closer to their level.
Yeah, it's probably hard for you to find somebody.
There's plenty. There's plenty. With fitness, I'm good at almost all things, but I'm not necessarily great at one particular thing. Yeah. So I can find them. I can find them, no doubt. No doubt. In regards to that, surrounding yourself around people, is there any one person or any one time or I guess really any one person that you feel like you've learned the most from and that you've got a big lesson from?
Yeah. With music, it would be Victoria for sure. She really took a chance on me kind of before I had developed a lot as a writer. So what she did is we signed this deal, and we've been partners ever since. But from the beginning, she was putting me in rooms with hit writers, and I was writing with her and, Rivers Rutherford, who's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, Gary Burr, Kent Blazy. I mean, these legendary writers. And I'm like, oh my God, these people I can't even imagine. But being in those rooms kind of from the get-go, you just do it, and you just kind of make it work and figure out how to, navigate and how to learn and, kind of bounce off of these great writers. And, I was lucky that they were all very nice and receptive to me and weren't like, oh, we're writing with this freaking kid. They were all really cool about it, which made it a lot easier. But, that combined with, her also having this philosophy of go out and make this buzz yourself. We can try to chase a deal or chase all of this stuff, but none of that is going to be as good as it can be if you don't make the noise yourself, which led me to get on the show. What do you mean by that? Pretty much meaning build a fan base yourself. And that's what really kind of led me to get on social media, was that mindset, because you look from a record company's perspective, which every musician wants to get a record deal at some point. Are they going to invest in somebody that has nothing going on? And if they do invest in somebody that has nothing going on, are they going to try to kind of steer the ship a lot more, take a little more control, maybe not put you out quite as fast because you need that development time? Whereas if you bring in this huge fan base, if you bring in this traction you have going on, then maybe it's more of a adding fuel to the fire instead of just taking over the whole machine and all that stuff. So she's kind of implanted that philosophy in me of just do as much as you can independent, and when the right thing comes along, it kind of will. And that's just kind of been another throw in the fire thing, and just kind of figure it out and make it work.
So do you feel like that's something that maybe a lot of people aren't preached to enough, like in regards to trying to like taking responsibility for building your own fan base? Like are a lot of singer-songwriters out there who are trying to grow, are they relying on getting a deal, or are they relying on other people promoting them and stuff like that? Is that like a big thing that a lot of people are doing wrong?
And I can't speak for anybody else.
Right.
But I just know me, when I moved to town, I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get a record deal. I want a record deal. You know, my goal was not, you know, connect with fans as much as possible. It wasn't write the best songs possible. It wasn't any of that. When I first moved here, it was, I want a record deal.
And why is it a record deal? Why is that the right goal?
It's just, it always is kind of like the mecca. What you always hear you need to do as a musician, you know, get a record deal, and you think they're going to put you on the radio. You think you sign a record deal, they're going to make your career. And, you know, you just have to worry about singing and writing and all that stuff. Where it's really like, you know, you have to work harder than anybody else is going to work for you. And that's kind of what the independent mindset for me has done. And it has shifted my focus to, you know, how can I connect with fans more? How can I write better songs? How can I write things that mean something to people, as opposed to just get the record deal, all this follows. It's more, we build it up over here, and then a record deal, if and when that comes, follows after that.
Gotcha. To kind of change tones a little bit, I know that, you know, being a young artist and doing your own thing, like you said, you have to put a lot of work and you have to put the grind in order to try to build your fan base, and you're working a ton. What are things that you do to make sure you don't get too absorbed in that, and you're still, you know, you have a girlfriend, that you're still making sure that you're giving enough time to your relationships, you're giving enough time to your health? I know you work out a lot. Yeah. And how do you make sure that you kind of keep all those things organized and in check? Yeah.
Fitness is probably, other than, you know, girlfriend and friends.
We would have edited it out if you got that wrong.
So yeah, spending time with girlfriend is obviously, you know, the biggest thing. And, you know, finding time to hang out with her throughout the day and at night and all that stuff is very valuable to me, keeps me sane, and she's awesome and I love her. So, you know, it all works out. Fitness is another thing that I have to do it every day. I can maybe take a day off on the weekends, but if I don't work out, like, I'm the worst. So I prioritize that. And if I have a busy day, you know, and if I need to get up at 5:30 to go work out or something, then I will do that instead of, you know, sleep till a normal time and, you know, skip it and go about my day and stuff. So that's been really important to me, been important to me since college. Also, like, I like watching sports. Yeah. Like, I live for Carolina basketball and football, which sucks a lot of the time, but, you know.
Basketball better than football. Most of the time, I guess recently I had
flipping this year, it's so frustrating, but hopefully the football team can live up to it. So watching sports, like, I try to just, like, sit down and watch SportsCenter for half an hour a day just because it's a nice escape. Yeah. You know, I do the Netflix and, you know, binge watching series stuff, like everybody else does. If I find a show, I try to make time to do that. Just, I try to keep my work as structured in, you know, a 7 to 7 day, and then all other hours just try not to think about it and just do other stuff.
Yeah, I got you. So when it comes to improving your craft, what are the different things that you're, like, working on right now? Like, what are the different things that you are practicing in order to get to the next level, in order to improve? Is it like, I need to make sure, I got to really figure out more with my sound, like improve my voice, I need to interact better with the crowd, I need to become a better songwriter? Like, what are the different things right now that you feel like you need to work on and that you need to practice in order to elevate, in order to get to the next level?
Yeah. I mean, the short answer is all of it. You know, I need to work on my vocal technique to increase my stamina is a big thing I'm working on now, which is a lot of breathing and a lot of stuff that you don't really think about necessarily when you sing, but you have to train it. And, you know, I want to be a better writer, and that just means kind of writing more and really, really focusing when I'm in those sessions and really kind of being intentional about where the song's going and kind of my role in all of that. And songwriting is just really something that gets better with practice and practice and practice. So just trying to do that more, trying to build a really, really cool live set, now that I'm going out and I'm playing these venues and people want to hear originals and stuff, how can I make this live show as cool, one of the cooler shows in country music, incorporate the mashup things, have these cool intros and outros and things going on in the set that, you can't just get up there and play the songs. You have to kind of figure out how to make it a cool show moment. And that all takes time and planning and kind of strategizing and trial and error and a lot of rehearsal and stuff. So those are probably the big things. I still try to get better at the social media stuff every day. I try not to worry about it too much and just kind of be me, but there's always stuff you can do better on there.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great. I loved having your grandmas on the other day. That one was super cool.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sure
they're beasts, man. That was awesome.
Loved that. That's super cool. So I want you to picture yourself 2 years down the road. Oh. Not that far. So it's maybe not that hard to picture yourself. And I'm not going to ask you what your specific goals are for 2 years down the road, but like imagine that you've achieved those goals. Imagine that you're playing the shows that you want to play. You're having sold out crowds. Your songs are getting a ton of streams on Spotify, on iTunes, on all these things. What are the habits that 2 year down the road version of yourself who has had those things? What habits does that person have that maybe you don't currently have?
I would say he would probably have that ability to kind of turn it off and relax a little bit more, which sounds so counterintuitive because it's like you would have achieved all those things. But, I think part of what is holding me back in some instances in terms of, writing better songs and stuff is just I'm still learning how to, like we were talking about earlier, turn it off and just kind of have less of a put so much pressure on myself mindset, because I've always done that and that's who I am. But take more of a enjoy the process, really just kind of soak it in and just like be happy where you are. Always want to get better, but be happy with what you're doing at the moment. I think for me to take that next step, it's going to require that kind of mindset and ability, which, I'm working on every day. So
yeah, what do you think is going to give you the ability to be able to get to that? Obviously, it's going to be like, it's not like at 27, it's not like 2 years down the road you're going to have it mastered, but what do you feel like you need to do between now and then to allow you to get to that place of being able to turn it off and not just be so on?
Yeah, I think there are, a ton of little things you can do, like literally plotting time in the day to sit and whether it's meditate or whether it's, have time with your faith or do all that stuff, or just sit there and kind of reflect and just give yourself a pat on the back for 5 or 10 minutes a day. I think it kind of starts small like that. Mm-hmm. And once you develop those really good habits, you can kind of grow those habits into more of that is the underlying mindset for the whole day, as opposed to something that I had to think about doing all the time. Now it just kind of, that happens naturally and it's kind of intertwined with everything I do.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, before I ask the last question, I just want to acknowledge you, because I really think it's like like you said, you can't speak for other artists and I can't speak for other artists, but I think that you being able to have the ability to take responsibility for growing your own fan base and for trying to stand out, trying to be unique, trying to be authentically you on social media. I think it obviously stands out and it's gained traction for a reason. I think the mashups, just that's one part of it. But I think that, like having your grandma on there, having your parents on there, like all that is super, super cool. And it's what people can relate to. Like you said, it's the thing that allows you to step on stage and allow other people to feel like they're just hanging out with you rather than you're on stage and you're at a higher level than them. And so I think you're just doing an awesome job by just being super authentically you at this point when you're so young.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Glad people are noticing. It's not all for nothing.
Yeah, of course. Well, if you guys don't follow Cooper yet, then you make sure you go to his Instagram, Cooper Allen Music, and TikTok at Cooper Allen 1, and then you can find his website at cooperallenmusic.com as well. Is there any other place that people should go to learn more about you and to follow you and support you?
I think that sounds about right. Go buy tickets if I come to your city.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the big thing right now.
Yeah, I was looking at your shows a couple days ago, and I'm looking to see if I might be able to go to one. I think you play at Thurn Lindsley maybe later in June or something like that. I was like, maybe I can make that work.
Hell yeah, we got to sell tickets to that show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man, that's a cool venue. But all right, man. Well, last question. I think that getting closer to the best version of yourself is a constant journey. I don't think we're ever at that best version of ourselves, but I also think it's a very unique journey. I think the way that I'm going to get closer to the best version of myself is going to be a little bit different than the way that you get closer to the best version of yourself. So, for you personally, if there are 3 things that you could currently do or 3 things that you could currently work on to get closer to that best version of yourself, to get closer to that best version of Cooper Allen that you could possibly be, then what are those 3 things that you could currently do or currently work on?
3 things. Okay. This is a good question. 3 things. Be more in the moment. Be more present. Let's see. Sleep better. And let's see. This is so. I just gave you like 3 shanks, but stretch more. I think I need to stretch more because my body is starting to hurt. I run too much and I don't stretch enough.
I think I just shanked those. That's amazing. That's made. No, those are 3 good ones, man. I need to stretch more as well for sure.
Put those on a t-shirt.
No, I think the first 2 are really good. The third one maybe might have been a little bit shank. No, awesome stuff, dude. Gooper, a ton of fun, man. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, dude. Really appreciate you, man. Mad respect to everything you're doing. Big fan.